Canada is absolutely furious at Donald Trump and his regime. Prime Minister Carney is dropping the hammer. The people of Canada are standing up, and they've inspired an international boycott against the Trump regime and the United States. And Prime Minister Carney gave that incredible speech in Davos, Switzerland, effectively becoming the leader of the free world. And everybody was contrasting that great speech from Prime Minister Carney versus Donald Trump's pathetic speech, frankly, really, I think, reflecting the end of America officially as a kind of an international leader. I mean, it's been happening for a long time, but when you saw them on the world stage like that, the contrast couldn't be more clear. So in typical Trumpian fashion, he has his sycophant cabinet members like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent goes on the various state regime medias and says, we talked, and he does it in such like an arrogant way. I mean, this guy's the worst. Like, we spoke to Prime Minister Carney, and Prime Minister Carney told us that he was deeply sorry for what happened in Davos, and he apologized profusely to us. And so we'll have to determine if we're going to accept his apology or not. And I was like, there's no way this happened. And it didn't happen. It's just these Trumpian liars make up lies. Everything they say is a lie. They're just freaking clowns. Watch Bessent here, though, on state regime media.
And interest rates will be down significantly. They're already down quite a bit. Let's talk about the Prime Minister, or if you prefer, Governor of Canada, and him threatening to break economic alliances with the U.S., go with China. The president has threatened 100% tariff. What impact would that have?
It would be a disaster for Canada. I was in the Oval with the president today. He spoke to Prime Minister Carney, who was very aggressively walking back some of the unfortunate remarks he made at Davos. And Sean, I'm not sure what the Prime Minister was thinking. Of course, Canada depends on the U.S. There's much more north-south trade than there could ever be east-west trade. He talks about middle countries having to do their own thing. And I'm old enough to remember when French President Francois Mitterrand tried to go down that route. It failed back in the 80s. It'll fail now. And Canada is linked to the U.S., and the Prime Minister should do what's best for the Canadian people rather than trying to push his own globalist agenda.
Push his own globalist agenda. Then you had Hannity say, or should we call him governor? I mean, these are the biggest clown, fascist, bad actors that there are. No wonder Canada is furious and saying bye-bye. Well, let's get Prime Minister Carney's side of it. Did he aggressively apologize and walk back what he said at Davos? Because who do we trust? A regime that lies every single day, or Prime Minister Carney, who has demonstrated credibility and accuracy? Let's watch what Carney says. Let's play it.
But to be absolutely clear, and I said this to the president, I meant what I said in Davos. It was clear, it was a broader set of issues, that Canada was the first country to understand the change in U.S. trade policy that he had initiated, and we're responding to that. We're responding positively by building partnerships abroad. We're responding positively by building at home, and we're prepared to respond positively by building that new relationship through CUSMA. He understood that, and it was a good conversation, as I say.
So you didn't walk back your comments?
No.
Oh, good. So now what is the United States doing in response? Well, they're doing what Vladimir Putin has tried to do in the Donbas region of Ukraine. Peel off parts of a sovereign country and basically say, why don't you join Russia? Or if you don't, we're going to annex you or make you or force it. And we're going to coerce the people. So what's going on in the U.S. right now as Canada has rejected the 51st state rhetoric and we should take over Canada rhetoric, and they've responded strongly. And you heard Prime Minister Carney there. Well, now the Trump regime is trying to go after the MAGA maple separatist movement in Alberta. Alberta's led by a Maple MAGA far right-wing extremist, Danielle Smith. And so the Trump regime is treating Alberta the same way you have Putin trying to treat the Donbass region. And it's very similar. It's the same thinking. Watch what Besson said when he goes on right-wing extremist show with Jack Basabi.
Well, look, Alberta is a wealth of natural resources, but they won't let him build a pipeline to the Pacific. I think we should let them come down into the U.S., and Alberta is a natural partner for the U.S. They have great resources. The Albertans are very independent people. Rumors that they may have a referendum on whether they want to stay in Canada or not.
Sounds like you may know something up there.
People are saying, people are talking. People are talking. People want sovereignty. They want what the U.S. has got, because when I look at Europe, how can they have sovereignty? They don't have immigration sovereignty. They've let their borders be overrun. They don't have economic sovereignty. They are dependent on China.
I want to bring in Charlie Angus, leader of Meidas Canada, leader of the Meidas Canada Resistance Tour. You were recently in Edmonton as well, speaking to the people there. Charlie, what's going on?
Well, it's pretty clear, and we've been saying this, Ben, that Donald Trump is furious that he was made to look like an absolute buffoon in Davos, and that the revenge was coming fast and quick. And like, what do you do the next day? You start raising the issue of breaking Canada apart. This is the Donbass playbook. Exactly. This has been in the works for some time. The Alberta separatists, these are not credible people. One of them is an ex-Marine. I mean, can you say AstroTurf? But what they've been doing, they've been meeting in Washington. You know, Pete Hoekstra, the ambassador to Canada, accused us of foreign interference by showing a commercial of Ronald Reagan. Well, the Alberta separatists claim that there's a $500 million slush fund on the table for them to help break up Canada. This is the play that they're going to be using against us. We have an extremist premier, Danielle Smith, who's been undermining Canada again and again. I just come back from Alberta in huge rallies in Calgary and Edmonton. People do not want this, but what they understand is it doesn't matter what the majority thinks right now. What matters is the ability of Donald Trump to create this impression so that he has an excuse, a provocation to act. That's the Vladimir Putin playbook. These are really, really dangerous times, Ben. We have to start calling this out. We have to shine a light on this. And unfortunately, our national media are being led by the nose on this. This is not a credible rallying of independence. This is about subservience to the MAGA agenda, and Canadians need to really recognize the threat that's coming at us right now.
So what do we do? How does Canada respond to it? What are you suggesting when you travel around Alberta, when you speak with the youth there, and you've been to colleges there and speaking to people, frankly, who may in the past have been susceptible to some of the Maple MAGA rhetoric, who are now turning Meidas Maple. And you've seen firsthand the shift of when people are given accurate data and the truth versus drowning in propaganda as part of the resistance tour.
Well, you know, it's really, really important at this time. I say this whether I'm in, on the east coast of Canada or on the far west coast. Don't let them divide us from each other. You will not find any place in this country that's more proud to be Canadian than in Alberta. They're fierce. They're feisty. They like to fight. Yeah, that's what makes them Albertans, but they are really worried. And the message I heard again and again, particularly in Calgary, which is the oil capital of Canada, one of the oil capitals of North America, people said again and again, if Alberta falls, Canada falls. Don't let that happen. There's huge resistance happening right now. There's amazing grassroots organizing going on to take out the UCP government of Danielle Smith. Recall campaigns are going on to try and get rid of this crew, but they are doing the total MAGA playbook, gerrymandering their constituencies. Danielle Smith's been threatening the judges. We see that Alberta had the gold health standard for health in the and they're trying to create this two-tiered privatized health system. So now Alberta is the measles capital of North America. Alberta was the gold standard in public education. They're driving that into the ground. So it's this, again, it's the Steve Bannon kind of playbook of relentless attack, attack, attack. But it's really important, I think, for all of Canada to rally together and to start calling out the sedition, start calling out this fake referendum, which wasn't even constitutional. There was a great referendum that was led across a referendum question that was put to Albertans. People signed up. It was to stay in Canada. Danielle Smith put that on the shelf. She's supporting this fake referendum to break up the country. She's lowered the bar. She's fighting with First Nation communities because you know what? The First Nations say, hey, wait a minute. We signed treaties with the Crown 30 years before Alberta even existed. This has no legitimacy. But Ben, you know from the story of what happened in Georgia, from Moldova, from Donbass, from Donetsk, it doesn't matter whether these people are legitimate. What matters is it gives the authoritarians the excuse to create a provocation. And that's what's going to happen if Canadians aren't really aware of what's happening. Alberta is calling out for help. Alberta's the front line. We all have to be there with them at this time.
And Charlie, we've seen Canada making big moves, the trans-Pacific partnerships with China that you and I spoke before, the transatlantic partnerships with Europe. We've seen Europe enter into what the president of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, described as the mother of all trade deals with Prime Minister Modi of India. As Trump attacked India and EU, he pushed EU and India close together, and they create a free trade zone regarding certain types of trade, European Union and South America. And so if you remember those coloring books when we were young, and they would have connect the dots, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kind of a connect the dots right now, with dots being connected, but the carve outs are being Russia and the United States, and kind of everybody else is being connected, and the U.S. is in this axis of evil. So reflecting on that, I think Davos, which is often viewed as, this a bit of an elitist type of thing, which doesn't always get that much attention. But this Davos was to me, a watershed event.
Well, Ben, it's clear Canada stepped up. Canada is being seen as a world leader right now. The world is watching. First, they watched the boycott of ordinary Canadians, everyday Canadians who stood up and showed incredible resistance, caused a maximum economic damage to MAGA. Now they're watching our prime minister, who's negotiating with Europe, negotiating with Asia, showing a way for democratic nations. They have to shut this down. They are Canada is the biggest threat right now to MAGA because we are democratic, because we believe in the rule of law, because we believe in people having diversity, equity, and inclusion as a nation. They don't want that on their border. So they will use whatever they can. And so they are going to use the Alberta playbook. We're already seeing this mass disinformation coming out and it's like Brexit. Remember how Brexit, the Conservatives thought, well, we'll let the loonies have a referendum and then they will lose. And then what happened was Steve Bannon, Cambridge Analytica, Russian disinformation. They targeted people. We're hearing in Alberta, oh, this is about, our grievances. This is about, we could put more money into healthcare. This is about, what we heard from Bassan, a pipeline. Well, they just got a pipeline. And if they wanted a pipeline to the United States, Keystone XL, we haven't seen Donald Trump do anything to move the Keystone XL pipeline forward. These are all the excuses they're using. They need to break Canada. And I believe, Ben, that they're not going to break Canada because Canadians are strong and Albertans are strong. But what worries me is the threat of a provocation from these Alberta separatists, these lunatics. I mean, they're marginal freaks. They're trying to drive this, and it's exactly the playbook that we saw with Putin in Donbass, in Ukraine, and we can't let that happen here in Canada because right now Canada is holding the line for the free world. So we're all in this together, and our Albertan supporters, and you're going to hear this, Ben, online. Alberta is strong. Alberta is fighting, but boy, oh boy, they've got a traitor, quisling government that's doing everything to push the Trump agenda. And Prime Minister Carney, he's a decent, smart, super smart guy, but he's going to have to put some brass knuckles on it this time.
Charlie, your message to Donald Trump and his regime as they watch our interview right now.
Donald, you're playing a really dumb game because you're out of your depth. You have no idea how fierce Canadians are. You have no idea how fierce Albertans are. You know, when I was in Europe in the commemorations after the Normandy landings and talking to the Germans and the Dutch and the Belgian people who remembered the Albertan soldiers who came through and freed their villages, we are tough people, Donald. And you're a convicted criminal. You're a predator. You're a disgusting human being, Donald. I'm just going to say it. Everyone should have said it. Everyone should have known it. But you got in, and with ICE and killing people in the streets of Minneapolis and the murders that are on and the blood on your hands, Donald, you got a lot of atoning to do. So I can see why you're trying to change the channel. I can see why you're trying to make people look over there, look to Alberta. But you know what? The people of Alberta are much better than you will ever be in a million years, better than your family, better than all your corrupt friends, better than the corrupt people like at ICE. You're all going to end up in jail one day. And you know what, in Canada? We're going to remain true, north, strong, and free, because we'll always be true, north, strong, and free. Get it through your head, Donald. Get it through your head. You are going down.
Charlie Angus, leader of Meidas Canada, leader of the Meidas Canada Resistance Tour. Great to see you, Charlie.
Hey, thanks so much for this, Ben.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.